Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Valkyrie deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an awesome OTK deck that can actually skip your opponent's entire turn, which is an insane thing for this deck to be able to do. I'm really excited to show you guys this build, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name script every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Valkyrie Sigrun. This card is a great 3-of in the deck, and it actually can special summon itself to your side of the field, because if this card is in your hand, then you can target one face-up spell trap card that you control and send it to the graveyard. And if you do, special summon this card. And if this card is normal or special summon, then you can special summon a level 8 or lower Valkyrie monster from your hand or graveyard, which is a great effect just to get you an additional Valkyrie monster on the field, so you can start building up your field to go in for an OTK. I then play a single copy of Valkyrie Irda. Irda is a good 1-of in the deck, but because you can only control 1 copy of Irda, I only play this card as a 1-of. And while you control this special summon card by the effect of a Valkyrie card, all face-up monsters that your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack points. And any card destroyed by battle or by card effect that would be sent to your opponent's graveyard is banished instead, which is a crazy powerful effect. I then play a single copy of Broomhilda. Broomhilda is a great 1-of in the deck. I want to play more than 1 copy of Broomhilda, but it's just a good 1-of. It's unaffected by your opponent's spell effects and it gains 500 attack points for each monster that your opponent controls. And then when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can have this card lose exactly 1,000 defense points. And if you do, your Valkyrie monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, which is a pretty good effect to protect your monsters, but you're going in for the OTK with this build, so you only need a single copy of Broomhilda. I then play a single copy of the level 6 Valkyrie monster. This card is a really good 1-of. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card. This card is basically DD Crow because you can quick effect, target or banish a monster from your opponent's graveyard, and then this card's attack becomes equal to the banished monster's original attack points until the end of the turn, which is a pretty good effect depending on what your opponent has in the graveyard. This card can get pretty big. I then play a single copy of Valkyrie Zweit. Zweit is a good 1-of in the deck because if it's summoned, then you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just instantly pop a card. I then play 3 copies of Valkyrie Dreit. Dreit is a great normal summon in the deck and one of the best cards in the entire deck because it's the searcher, because if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Valkyrie card from your deck to your hand. And because it says Valkyrie card, you can actually get Ride of the Valkyries, so we can go in for an OTK. I then play a single copy of Valkyrie Verte. Verte is a really good 1-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card. I usually go between 1 and 2 copies of this card, which is actually pretty good because during your main phase, you can excavate the top card of your deck, or cards off the top of your deck, equal to the number of other Valkyrie monsters you control, and if you do, add an excavated normal spell or trap card to your hand. Also, send the remaining cards to the graveyard, otherwise shuffle all excavated cards in the deck. And when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Valkyrie monster from your deck, which is a pretty good effect. And then play a single copy of the level 2 Valkyrie monster. This card is just a 1-of in the deck for names. I feel like a single copy of this card is perfect because Valkyrie monsters you control gain 200 attack for each of your opponent's banished monsters, which can come in handy extremely well in this deck to give you a little bit of a boost to go in for the OTK. I then play 3 copies of the level 1 Valkyrie monster. This card is really interesting in the deck because if it's special summoned, you can special summon a Valkyrie monster from your deck, except another copy of this card, which is a really good effect if you can special summon out this card. And then during your main phase, you can send the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to the graveyard, which is a little bit of a weird effect, but it is kind of a neat effect on this card. I then play 2 copies of Archlord Christia. Archlord Christia is really good because if you can't OTK your opponent on the first turn, you can lock down your opponent where they cannot special summon, which is really good because if you have exactly 4 fairy monsters in your graveyard, then you can special summon this card from your hand, and if summoned this way, you can target a fairy monster in the graveyard and add that target back to your hand. And neither player can special summon monsters, and if this phase of card would be sent from the field to the graveyard, you can place it on top of the deck instead, which is a great effect to be able to recycle this card and use it again later. It's very easy to draw into this card and Valhalla to be able to instantly special summon it to your side of the field so you can lock down your opponent from special summoning. I then play 3 copies of the Agent of Creation Venus. Venus is really good because it can put multiple shine balls on your side of the field by just paying 500 life points for each shine ball that you want to summon, and it's not once per turn. This card is really insane in the deck because it helps us make our copy of Yugioh with 4 materials with different names, because you basically just make 3 copies of shine ball, link 1 away for a link spider, 1 away for an Imduk, and then link away the final copy of shine ball, the Imduk, the link spider, and the copy of our Venus to make Yugioh to draw 4, which is really insane to dig into the deck for the exact card that you need. I then play 3 copies of Mystical Shine Ball. Mystical Shine Ball is in here because you're summoning it off of Venus, so you can make your copy of Yugioh or any basically link 4 monster that you have in the extract off your copy of Venus, just being normal summoned to the field. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is just really good in the deck overall to bring back your Valkyries from the graveyard to your side of the field so you can go in for an OTK. 1 copy of 1 for 1. I play this card as a 1-of because your level 1 Valkyrie likes to be special summoned because it gives you an additional Valkyrie when it's special summoned, which is a really good effect to be able to summon it off of 1 for 1. 1 copy of Call by the Grave just to stop the opponent's hand traps. This card is really good in the deck as a 1-of, but it's just a really good card overall just to stop hand traps. We then play the card we want to see the most in this deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Ride of the Valkyries. This card is so good and single-handedly makes the entire deck work, because you special summon any number of Valkyrie monsters with different names from your hand. And if you special summon 3 or more monsters with this effect, you take no battle damage until the end of the next turn. And then during the end phase of the turn you activated this card, you shuffle all monsters you control into the deck. And you can banish this card from the graveyard to add a Mischief of the Time Goddess from your deck to your hand. And you can only use the effect of Ride of the Valkyries once per turn. But being able to put multiple Valkyrie monsters on your side of the field is really good, while also searching out Mischief of the Time Goddess is insanely powerful. So we then play 2 copies of Mischief of the Time Goddess because it is searchable in the deck, and this card can skip your opponent's entire turn. And it's a speed spell 4, which is insane. It has the ability that neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. It cannot be activated as a chain link 2 or higher. And at the end of the battle phase, if all monsters you control are Valkyrie monsters, minimum 1, send this card to the graveyard. Also, immediately this card resolves, skip your opponent's entire turn and go to your next battle phase, which is really cool. And it's just absolutely insane. And you can only activate, and if you do, you cannot activate Mischief of the Time Goddess until the end of this turn, which is insane because you basically just skip the opponent's entire turn and get a second battle phase. That's so good in this deck, and just absolutely insane that you basically give all your Valkyrie monsters a second attack to go in for that OTK. I then play 3 copies of Raigeki. Raigeki is insane in this deck because basically you activate your Raigeki, board wipe their field of all their monsters, activate Ride of the Valkyries, and then you go in for an OTK. And what an entrance to ride in on the Lightning, which is just so cool. Speaking of Lightning, we also play 3 copies of Lightning Storm because Raigeki just quite isn't enough. We need 6 board breakers in here because your copies of Lightning Storm can get rid of your opponent's spells and traps or their monsters, and you activate this card always first to get rid of all their monsters or all their spells and traps. And if you open both of them, you can get rid of all their spells and traps and their monsters, which is just absolutely crazy to be able to use Lightning and then activate Ride of the Valkyries. So what an entrance to be able to come into with this deck. I then play 3 copies of Valhalla Hall of the Fallen. This card is really, really good in the deck, and it goes with the whole theme with Valkyries. But it's really cool because once per turn, you can special summon a fairy monster from your hand, like a Cyber Dragon, but you have to have no monsters on your side of the field when you activate this effect, which is a pretty good effect to just get any of your Valkyrie monsters on the field because they're all really high levels. So this card is a really, really good 3-of to just activate and get a monster on the field, and it also works with your copy of Valkyrie Sigrun to be able to send this card to the graveyard to special summon it out to your field. So that's it for the spells, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the X deck. We don't need any traps in this deck because it is an OTK deck. So for the X deck, we're just going to be playing a bunch of Link monsters, and we're going to start off with a single copy of Yugioh. So Yugioh is really good in this deck because if you put 2 materials into it, then if all monsters, if you want to normal summon or special summon a monster to this card zone, it gains 300 attack and defense. If you put 3 monsters in this card, then once per turn you can special summon a monster from your hand. If you put 4 monsters in this card, you get to draw 4 and then place 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of the deck in any order, which can fix your hand so you can keep going in for more Valkyrie monsters and search for your copy of Ride of the Valkyries. I then play a single copy of Boral Sword Dragon. Boral Sword is just a great OTK piece in the deck. I just play this card as a one-of, just in case I want to link summon into this card and go in for game. 1 copy of Access Code. Access Code is just really good in the deck overall to pop cards on the field. Keep in mind, with this extra deck, you don't have to play any of these cards, really, except for Yugioh. Yugioh is just so important, and your copy of Mduk and Link Spider. You can play Access Code, but if you want to change this card out for a Borolo Dragon, you definitely can do that. I then play a single copy of Appaloosa because it is really good as a monster negate that you can put on the field, and it is a fairy monster, which is kind of cool to work with your copy of Arcalor Christia. 1 copy of Topologic Zeroboros. Zeroboros is just really good overall because it basically can banish every card on the field because you cannot special summon, you cannot summon or set monsters to any extra monster zone that this card points to, and it gains 200 attack for each banished card. And if another monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, while this monster is on the field, you banish all cards on the field, and then once per turn, during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, by its own effect, you special summon this banished card back to the field, which gets it absolutely massive, and it's just a really good board wipe. And then play a single copy of Trisbana. Trisbana just gets rid of back row, kind of like Zeroboros, but it just gets rid of back row if a monster is special summoned to a zone it points to. 1 copy of Unicorn to spin stuff. 1 copy of Phoenix to pop spells and traps, and a Cerberus to pop monsters. 1 copy of the Light Charmer. This card is just really good in the deck because we play so many light monsters and we can get monsters out of our opponent's graveyard. IP Masquerena because this card comes in extremely handy in the deck to be able to make Unicorn during the opponent's turn. 1 copy of Hippo Shinnigan. Hippo Shinnigan is a light monster and it boosts all of our light monsters up by 500 attack points, which can help us out if we're going to go in for an OTK. I play a single copy of Baba Barber. Barber is really good because it just takes any 2 monsters to make this card, and it can get monsters off the field that are not Valkyrie monsters, so you can activate Mischief of the Time Goddess because it has the ability at the start of each battle phase, you can target this card or 1 monster that this card points to and banish it until the end phase, which is pretty good because you can just link into this card and get rid of the monsters that are not Valkyries and then just banish it during the beginning of the battle phase. I then play a single copy of Mduk. Mduk is in here because you can make this card with your copy of Shine Ball and make your copy of Yugioh with it. And then finally, a single copy of Link Spider, which we always use to be able to use with Shine Ball to make our copy of Yugioh. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's absolutely amazing. And what lighting on that Zeroboros, that's really cool. But that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's absolutely insane. It's really fun to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Valkyrie and you want a really fun OTK deck, I highly recommend it. It can control the board a little bit with your copy of Christia, but with this particular build, we're going in for Ride of the Valkyries. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.